Hey everybody, I brought home another 385 planter. I've got a really bad habit about buying these things, and uh, just shows how much I like them, I guess, since I got 8 sitting around here again. But I just figured I'd go on an overview on these planters and show you a couple that I got that people ask about. One being a 390 bar with 385 units on it. It's a little windy out here today, so I don't know how good everything's going to come through, but it's a pretty nice day out. So I picked this one up there at Wheeler Auctions in Paris, Missouri here, on their July sale that they had, and just figured I'd use it for a parts planter, since I'm running 385s, so I can always use parts, and at the end of the day it's a lot cheaper doing it that way instead of buying new. Something they did on the earlier planters, well, they changed it on later, but they had this, I don't think this is that good of a depth gauge adjustment on it. They came out with a goofy deal on the later ones, but I'll show you that. It made it a lot easier changing depth and getting a good accurate depth adjustment on these later ones. Now people might ask, well, that looks like a good planter, why part it out? Well, for one, a lot of people don't run the 385s because parts are hard to come by. Gauge wheel tires for the depth on them are obsolete. You can't, there's no manufacturer that makes them. They're like I think 3.5 inch maybe, or 4 inch, and everybody else is either like a 3.5 or a 4.5, or a 3 and a 4. So that's a big downfall of them, and parts are high as heck on replacement parts. So this first one, this was a 8-row 30 inch that was ordered in by a man down in Marshall, Missouri, and he was wanting a 38 inch planter. And from what I've been told, and I know for a fact, there's only 2 of these in existence. He sold out here a couple of years ago and had both of these planters on hand. But Deutz Allis at the time, or Allis, they came in with engineers and went to Scott Implement that was in Sweet Springs, Missouri, and basically built this planter for them. And you can see these markers, that style was used on fold up planters. That was something that's in the books. I'd have to look them up, but I can probably find those markers. But it's just neat how the system worked on them to make them fold, and how they was designed. But they went and cut this thing down, and they added on tubing there to extend it, and adding hinges on it. And made everything to fold and drive like it needs to. So I thought it was, really neat. You know, I've been wanting to get it inside. I just don't have a place to put it right now. And just for a piece of history, because there's, like I said, there's only 2 out there. That's it. Unless somebody else, they made something for somebody else. But that's all I know of is 2. I mean, the other one was a Landau bar where it was yellow, and that sold on the same sale, and I don't know where it landed, but there's only 2 of these things in existence. Here, this has the updated style on depth control, and people think these things are awful goofy, but I mean, for me, I like them. I mean, each notch is a 1/4 inch change in depth on it, and it has 18 settings that you can change, you know, to give you from, I think it will go as shallow as a 1/4 inch down to 3.5 inches maybe or something. But it just seems like it, once you get them figured out, I mean, it's simple as sin to change. Something else on these 385s is these walking beam closing wheels. These things, I mean, they make this planter just perform like none other. There's no other planter that's ever been made on the market that I know of that has a setup like this. And I can plant in muddy conditions, drier conditions, you know, and get a good closing of the seed trench. It's a shame, you know. A lot of people say that the white system has a good system, air system, but a lot of planters, they're lacking the ability to close the seed trench, or they can't cut through residue. And this planter, it just does it all. I mean, you know, some guys, I mean, honestly, I love the air system on them, but if you could have took the white system and put this opening and closing units on it, disc openers, I mean, I don't think there'd be anything on the market that could rival it. And on top of it, you know, I've come to find out these blades have a leading edge. Kenzie's don't. And I don't run no-till coulters on any of my planters. I've basically done away with them. I'll cut through residue. Corn stalks I've no-tilled into 190 bushel residue corn stalks for corn on corn, and no-till into 220, 240 bushel for soybeans. Of course, the stalks will decay, you know, being a month later, a little bit more if we have the moisture. But I mean, it just cuts right through and puts that seed where you want it. So we'll go over to this other one, and a lot of people ask me about this thing because there's not supposed to be any of them out there, but I've seen 5 in my memory, if I can recollect, 5 12 rows that had been produced or built by dealerships or something. Allis in, I want to say 78, 79, 80, they started using Carmichael bars that was built up in northeast Missouri, if I'm right. And they was the first planter on the market to produce a 24 row. And it was a good design with a front fold. The biggest downfall is they put the back wheels, the transport wheels in the back of this thing, and when you go to turn these outside wheels, they just want to dig and gouge, and you got to make a light bulb turn, and you can't do what you can with newer, you know, like a Kinsey or something. And I gotta get this thing winterized and boxes taken off and do all that stuff. It's been on the back list. And but yeah, this is a common drive. See, where the Allis units were they were all individually drove units, which worked great for these. But I'm not sure, and there's no parts book on these planters that I've found on these 390 frames. I'm not sure how they fully got this designed. I mean, if anybody can comment that was around during the day when these were getting thought up of, Allis was already had 385 units designed and the new 12-row bar designed for it. But I think these was produced before 12 rows came out, or you had a choice. You could you know, buy the units and put them on any bar, which, you know, a lot of manufacturers could do. But the drive system on these things, from what I figured out on this one, is they took these drive wheels off a mounted 3-point planter and mounted them to this. And that's the only thing I've been able to figure out on making this thing drive. Because if you go and look at the 6 rows or the 8 rows and the pull type ones, it's completely different. And to get this to work like it should, I mean, it's, you know, from what I've seen in the parts books, this is the these pieces are off the mounted units, the 3-point ones. This planter came from Paris. Bought it at Paris Equipment when they was still in business in 2011. Of course, I'm kind of out of shed space on stuff, and you know, if there's some pictures of it on the internet, and it looks a little bit better. But yeah, it was originally painted orange and had this green paint put over it. I mean, that was orange paint to begin with. So, you know, it has its full Allis roots there, and says helium implement, and I can't fully say where that would have been from. You know, originally where it came from, new. But I haven't been able to find a serial number plate on it. It should be right here. So if anybody has one of these, I mean right here, because yeah, it should be right here. That's where the plate should have been at. So if anybody has these, let me know. See what the serial number was on theirs. I know there's one 24-row out in Pennsylvania on a dairy farm, and I would love to have that thing. I mean, just, you know, I'd love to use it. I only have one field I could use it in, but it would be, see, that's Illinois. Rolla, Illinois, it looks like, or Rula. Arula. (61910) zip code. So I'll look that up. But I'd love to have a 24 row 385. I mean, it would, since I like collecting kind of this rarer stuff and big stuff, and I use it too. But I only have one field that I could use that planter in as of right now. Probably won't ever pick up anything else that's flat, or I could probably use it out on 30 acres up here or so, but shit, it'd only take an hour to plant it and be kind of cool. But and we'll go back over to a 6 row I got. It's my latest serial numbered planter that I have out of all the 385s. This one's a corn planter I use. It's, I've put maybe $1,500 in it, and last year corn, I had lots of spots yielding 220, 230, and the year before, I mean, corn was yielding even more at times. So you don't have to have the newest and greatest thing to raise good corn yield. This one here, this came from Maryville, Hole & Scott implement, and by far it's the nicest one I got. It's the latest one I got. It's serial number like 2192, and they start at number 1, not 1001, but number 1 with these planters. So if I could ever do some digging and find out how, what serial numbers were at what time, or I'd say this is probably 89 or 90 planter. But it's time for disc openers on it for next year, and I gotta get some hoses on it and just do some knick-knack stuff with it. But I mean, it worked great. It's nice having 2 planters, one for corn, one for beans, and then that 12 row for beans, and get a lot done then. But so I like I said, I figured I'd just go and make a short, fairly long video and go over these 385s on kind of why I like using them, and if people are looking for parts or whatever, get a hold of me. I can, I've got wheel shafts and stub shafts, and somebody wants some units, I could sell them units. I think I have enough units now that if I got a 24 row bar, I could make one. But it's just one of them things that I'd almost need to see that one out in Pennsylvania and see if it's see how everything was set up on it to do it, because it's almost the same as the 12, but there's a lot of questions I'd have about it. But so that's kind of scoop on that. I appreciate everybody that signed up to the channel. Over 200 people now. It's good to know that there's at least that many people that enjoy my videos, and get the last video was just over 1,400 views so far. So just very, very ecstatic and happy about it. So like I said, thank you, and hope you guys keep liking the content. If there's anything that you see that I walk by that you're like, you want something gone into on in-depth, just tell me, and I'll make a short video or something of it and explain it. You never know what we bring in here, or I go out and buy, and spend the money I ain't got for. So, you know, it's just the fun of doing it. But anyways, thank you, and we'll see you again next time.